Hello and welcome to Ask Guillem. This week, a lot of the questions, and there are a lot of them, and really interesting. I keep saying this week, but I'm surprised by the quality of questions. People really want to know things that are not the usual stuff, not just transfer stories. It goes beyond that, of course. We've got other priorities right now. I hope everybody's safe, everybody's healthy, everybody's staying home, and I'm going to start getting some of your questions. Scotta68 says, "Hi Guillem, what is your views on finishing the season and what could happen about promotion and relegation?" For me, I'm hearing all kinds of stories from everybody playing in the same place for a short period of time. For instance, the championship could be played in Istanbul in a whole week or 10 days behind closed doors, perhaps. And you get the quarters, the semi-finals, and the final all played there. I'm hearing as well that the Premier League could do something like that as well. Put all the teams in one place, control their health, and playing behind closed doors in an area where there are 2 or 3 different stadiums, so games could be every day. That's interesting, and it's one of the possibilities that's been discussed. What I think everybody insists on is that the league has to continue, has to finish. There's a cost not to finish it of about £750 million. Quite clearly, there is a part of La Liga has happened that they paid a part of the 3/4 of what the money from television is, but not the last part, and they want the last part of the season to be played, so €500 million can be distributed against the teams. Otherwise, the television may not pay that money. So the same could be in the Premier League. Everybody wants to play whatever time, whatever. Well, I'm saying everybody. I'll put in brackets the fact that Harry Kane mentioned that if by the end of June this has not been played, La Liga, the league has not been played, perhaps it'd be a matter of actually cancelling it altogether. Of course, that benefits Spurs, doesn't it? And I know that there are some chairmen of the Premier League that are feeling that perhaps it will be good not to affect next season and start from scratch. But the push will be from the big teams and from the Premier League to actually finish the season. Interestingly enough, just quickly, the FA has decided that non-league from step 3 to the bottom has to be null and void, and that is a very strange decision, I feel, because first of all, why taking it now? Why taking it so early? What do we do with the hours that we've invested into Beaglesware United, in my case, the money invested in it as well, the training sessions, the victories, the defeats, all that really, what do we do with it? Can we just, are you asking us to throw it away? I would like to continue, the season to continue. I believe that the decision has not been taken to the FA board, so there is time for us to say, to give our opinion still. I know the leagues met with the FA and that decision came on the back of that, but there's a push from many to actually change that around, so I'll keep you posted on it. Serge is saying best case scenario of when can we have our football back and how it will affect next season, also considering the 2022 World Cup. Do you think that the next season will be adjusted even more, or that's for the season after that? We just don't know. All case of scenarios are being presented, and a lot of them means affecting next season. So the talk of no replace for the FA Cup, it's one that's been discussed. The Carabao Cup could be an under-23s competition. We will see, because United Kingdom is about a week away from Spain. Now from today, Monday, we have stopped all non-necessary work, and you're still miles away from that. When you start getting figures like we are getting in the numbers of cases and people that are dying, you perhaps will start pushing away more dates to just get it for the football to come back maybe late in the summer, perhaps even August, September. And if that affects next season, so be it. I know what you're trying to say. If the World Cup is in January, why don't we do a January to December kind of season, the season after, not the next one, the season after. We will see. It's all complicated to decide, and you have to just hold any kind of thoughts on it. People are talking about what has to be done, and we just have to see it day by day, really. Paul Campbell is saying, how are Biggleswade coping with the coronavirus impact? Has there been any actions you have been able to take to cope better? And how big do you think the long-term financial aspect will be? Well, of course, there is no money coming in. Money in the bar, money in the gates. We need to discuss with our sponsors about next season. Hopefully, they will back us next season with the same amount of financial help that we've got so far from them, but they will be affected as well by the situation. So we need to discuss all that. We've been having meetings. We've been restructuring the club as it's grown very big, and at least this time has allowed us to put that restructuring in place. But with no football, it's all a little bit frustrating, because what happens is, of course, if we start playing again, either to finish the season or to start a new season, say in September, October, that's a long way from here, and we need to see if the players are still up for it, if they still want to be with us, what the targets will be next season. It's all up in the air. Not a priority though, but we're all in touch, and hopefully we've got a solid foundation, which means that with a lot of volunteers and people helping us, which means that we can continue working on this and be affected the least amount of possible. What else we got from Mark Gaskin? Will Neymar go back to Barcelona or join Madrid? Got the feeling he may choose Madrid to get one over Barcelona directors. I think the first thing to say about that is that the market is going to change dramatically for 2 or 3 years. I don't believe those that say that actually this could be the beginning of a new life for football, with the end of the massive transfer fees and perhaps a limitation, a capping of the wages. I don't believe in that, because that requires changes of laws, that requires that all parts involved are feeling and thinking that way, and they're not. So I just think it will affect things in the near future, in the middle term maybe. But what will happen if Madrid goes for Mbappé, which they will, maybe not for 2021, maybe wait until the end of his contract now in 22. But what happens if they go for him, say they get him before his contract is finished, and they pay over 100 million for it? Why will they pay that? Because they know that they're going to get the money back. And then the whole domino effect goes back to where it was. So it will be a way for clubs to reassess the situation, especially Barcelona, that have got their coffins with hardly no money. That's why they need an immediate action in regards to reduction of wages. And on Tuesday, they will present their plan to the government, so to see if, or to the authorities, to see if they can get up till 70% of the wages of some of the players being reduced for a while. They need that because of the bad managing of the money, what Barcelona have done for a long while, and they are the biggest budget. They have the biggest budget in the world, is to bring a lot of money, because they have a lot of expenses. Perhaps they have to start thinking that they should reduce those expenses, reduce the wages, reduce the way that they feed the first team with money, because obviously that's about 70% of the money that comes in goes into the first team wages. Perhaps they should readdress that, and there are elections in 2021 that I'm sure some of the candidates will try to present a more realistic view of what should be done with a club like Barcelona. Bashir Bukar saying, will Mbappé join Madrid in 2021? PSG won't be short of money, and the idea was to sell or see if Neymar could be sold for the right amount of money. Now, Barcelona were thinking Lautaro Martinez or Neymar, but now with the financial situation they're in, they may be able not to do either of them or just one of them. So if Neymar stays at PSG, and I don't think Real Madrid, by the way, on the previous question, will go for him as they have Mbappé as the main target. Well, Neymar may have to stay at PSG, and if that's the case, then you're talking about a situation in which maybe due to the circumstances, Mbappé eventually gets sold because he doesn't want to renew his contract, and Neymar stays at PSG for much longer and becomes the superstar of PSG. Nobody wants right now, I can tell you that. But the situation, financial situation of the clubs now will determine what happens with that. El Jefe is asking, it is likely Griezmann will be sold to make way for the return of Neymar. they would like that to happen. Perhaps, and one thing that may happen in these 2 or 3 next windows is that there'll be a swap of players. They will value players and swap them. Not easy because, of course, it affects commissions and contracts, etc. But it may be a way to reinvigorate teams and to give them to give the players a new incentive as well. So that could be one. Griezmann and Neymar, an exchange. Mark Stevenson says, is there any possibility Mbappé signs for Liverpool? No. Obviously they like Mbappé, but it will destroy the wage structure of Liverpool right now, and they have to invest a lot on getting him, so forget that one. Ricky Bloke is saying, will the season be finished? This is the only thing we all want to know. I think I put my point across. Not only I feel that people want to finish, I think it'd be the fairer thing to do. Stefan Jensen is saying, any chance for election this summer in Barcelona? And the answer really is we don't know. We'll see how the actions of Barcelona get analysed and criticised, and if there is pressure for things to happen. But remember, not everybody's prepared for elections right now. Perhaps only Victor Font is the best candidate for it. But I need to hear from him if he actually will present himself to the next elections. I think he's ready, but this situation is affected him personally, perhaps financially, so we'll have to see. So I don't think there'll be elections soon. They'll be in 2021. The Wizard is saying, I sincerely hope it's a long way off, but is Pep the only manager big enough to manage Messi's decline? We don't want to think like that, do we? No, I think a possibility would be Xavi coming to Barcelona. Perhaps if Victor Font wins the elections, he would be the manager of Barcelona and will have Messi for perhaps an extra year before the 2022 World Cup. And after that, who knows? I'm not sure even Messi himself sees beyond 2022. Not right now. He hasn't taken a decision, but I know that when he said to Neymar to come over to Barcelona last summer, it was partly to say, look, I will be here for 2-3 years, and after that you could be the superstar of Barcelona. So we're talking about 2022 perhaps, in which Messi started to think, he'll be what, 35, time to retire or move or do something else. We will see. But as I said, he did mention to Neymar the possibility of 2 or 3 more years since last summer. We're getting to the end, so it won't be Pep. Ian Venel says, who do you think the first 250 million player will be? I think we're miles away from that for the reasons I said earlier. It's not the time to spend that kind of money because nobody will want to do that. So we're going to have to wait on that one. Right. Steve Wonder says, are UEFA looking to synchronise all the leagues starting at the same time, or will it be down to the individual leagues to decide? There is a sanitary health situation, which is that perhaps in Italy they'll be ready earlier than United Kingdom to start again. So the start would be depending when it's safe to do so. And the thinking is to do it behind closed doors. And I know managers don't like that and players don't like that because football belongs to you, belongs to us, and we have to be part of that. But the thinking is, as the season has to be finished to be able to comply with the contracts, the broadcasting contracts, then it may be behind closed doors. But every league will do it at their own time. In Belarus, they haven't even stopped yet. They're still playing, crazy enough. Jimmy Knuckles is saying, that's the last one, will Barcelona get rid of Dembélé, Griezmann, Coutinho in the near future? It's easier to get rid of Griezmann, which they are considering. Not so easy to get rid of Dembélé, even though people are suggesting in the media that he's wanted Dembélé by Liverpool. I don't think so, not at all. They are very aware of his situation, of his injuries, and it's a risk to take him to Liverpool, even though, of course, Klopp will like that kind of player, that profile of player. And the last one is Coutinho. Right, it's been story in the media recently, this week, saying that Pochettino didn't want Coutinho, that Danny Levy was going to do a big effort for him, and that's definitely not the story. Definitely not the story. The story, in fact, is that Pochettino did want Coutinho, but right at the end of when the negotiations had been advanced, Daniel Levy decided to not so much to pull the plug, but to reduce some of the agreements, financial agreements that had been reached. So then Coutinho felt that he didn't want to go to Spurs. The money was not enough. to make the move, and then just things didn't happen. So Pochettino did want Coutinho at the side, and it was Daniel Levy who wanted to perhaps, as he always does, do a little bit of financial wizardry, but didn't work out on this situation, and Coutinho didn't go to Spurs. So a bonus track, because what happened soon after I recorded the video is that the Barcelona players, through the social media, they confirm that they actually have agreed to give up 70% of their wages, 70% of the wages, for as long as the state of alert lasts. Could be a couple of months, 3 months. So that's about 14 million euros that the club will save. The thing that has surprised many is that it was Leo Messi the first one to publish that note that every other player published after, but also that it included a little bit of a dig to people within the club, that they basically criticized the fact that the players were a little bit delayed, that they were thinking about it, that they weren't putting all the effort that was needed. That's the kind of criticisms we all got off the record, but obviously reached the players, and yet another sign of the division between the board and the players. But for the gesture of the players, when others haven't done that, in Spain, for instance, it's commendable, absolutely. As I said, 14 million euros each month the club will save, but they've added as well a 2% of the wages to pay the staffs. The staff that doesn't include, it's not first team staff, but like people from the offices, from the shops, etc. They will now be paid, thanks to that, thanks of the effort of the club as well, 100% of the wages for as long as the state of alert will last. So that's good news on a way, but if you actually dig a little bit deeper, what you will see is the continuous division between the players and the board. Not all of the board, but certainly the players are not happy with the fact that before this decision was taken, there were implications that the players were thinking too much about money, when in fact, according to the note, the players were trying to put together a plan that everybody agreed with, and that Messi had said from day one that they were willing to pay something, or to cut the salaries. It was agreed from the beginning. It was a time, there was a time needed to determine how much of that. But as I said, this has been few months, since the summer really, of a constant division, from the moment that the players wanted Neymar and were willing to cut their wages to get Neymar, and eventually the club, we all think, that didn't do enough efforts to actually get him. The situation with Valverde and how they negotiated with others very open, very publicly, while Valverde was still in charge, and that wasn't liked by the top players as well. And just generally the fact that the squad seems weak and unable to compete for all the titles, which is what Messi demands as well. So a lot of things that are dividing the board and the players, but the president has confirmed that there won't be any elections before 2021. So that's when I think everything, the future of Barcelona, will be decided. Bartomeu wants to obviously he cannot present himself to the next elections, as he has already done 2 mandates, but he would like somebody of his wavelength to actually present himself. There are potentially 5 candidates, and we'll talk more on that in the future, but it's not very clear what's going to happen with that yet. In any case, it won't be before 2021, because remember, there will be a deficit in this year's budget, and if there is a deficit, the ones that pay for it are the members of the board, and they don't want that. So they will sort that out before the elections, and then they can come out of the board cleanly. Anyway, all that I thought I needed to mention to you before I say goodbye to you in this Ask Guillem for this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye. There's more stuff in the YouTube channel. There's a podcast, the Pure Football Podcast, that I have been producing as well, with in-depth interviews and chats. Not the usual stuff for those of you that like not the usual stuff. But for now, I'll leave it here. Speak to you soon. Bye.